Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. In today's episode of General Awareness Question Answer Series, get ready to test your knowledge with these questions. Remember, you can pause the video to think about your answers before we reveal the correct ones. Let's get started. Question 1. Which part of the Indian Constitution deals with the Union Territories? Answer: Part 8. Question 2. Who is the custodian of the Indian Constitution? Answer: the Supreme Court of India. Question 3. What does Article 51 of the Indian Constitution deal with? Answer: fundamental duties. Question 4. Who has the power to remove the Vice President of India? Answer: Parliament of India. Question 5. Which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the right to form associations or unions? Answer: Article 19, 1(c). Question 6. What is the maximum strength of the Council of Ministers in the Lok Sabha? Answer: 15% of the total strength of the Lok Sabha. Question 7. Which body is responsible for the removal of the Controller and Auditor General of India? Answer: the President of India on the recommendation of Parliament. Question 8. Which part of the Indian Constitution deals with the Panchayati Raj? Answer: Part 9. Question 9. Who presides over the meetings of the Council of Ministers? Answer: the Prime Minister. Question 10. Under which article can the President of India issue ordinances? Answer: Article 123. Question 11. Which amendment introduced the Goods and Services Tax, GST, in India? Answer: the 101st Amendment. Question 12. What is the quorum to constitute a meeting of the Lok Sabha? Answer: 1/10 of the total number of members. Question 13. Who is the chairman of the National Integration Council? Answer: the Prime Minister. Question 14. Which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the promotion of international peace and security? Answer: Article 51. Question 15. Who is responsible for the administration of the Union Territories in India? Answer: the President of India. Question 16. Which schedule of the Indian Constitution contains the division of powers between the Union and the states? Answer: the 7th schedule. Question 17. What does Article 25 of the Indian Constitution deal with? Answer: freedom of conscience and free profession, practice, and propagation of religion. Question 18. Who can declare a financial emergency in India? Answer: the President of India. Question 19. What is the maximum number of members that can be nominated to the Rajya Sabha by the President? Answer: 12 members. Question 20. Which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the formation of new states and alteration of areas, boundaries, or names of existing states? Answer: Article 3. Question 21. Who has the power to make laws on the subjects in the state list during the proclamation of an emergency? Answer: the Parliament of India. Question 22. Which amendment made the right to education a fundamental right? Answer: the 86th Amendment. Question 23. What is the retirement age for judges of the High Court in India? Answer: 62 years. Question 24. Which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the impeachment of the President of India? Answer: Article 61. Question 25. What does Article 370 of the Indian Constitution deal with? Answer: temporary provisions with respect to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Question 26. Who appoints the Attorney General of India? Answer: the President of India. Question 27. Which amendment of the Indian Constitution introduced the anti-defection law? Answer: the 52nd Amendment. Question 28. Which part of the Indian Constitution deals with municipalities? Answer: Part 9A. Question 29. Which article of the Indian Constitution is related to the Uniform Civil Code for the citizens? Answer: Article 44. Question 30. Who can proclaim a state emergency, President's rule, in a state? Answer: the President of India. Question 31. Which amendment of the Indian Constitution lowered the voting age from 21 to 18 years? Answer: the 61st Amendment. Question 32. Under which article of the Indian Constitution can the President appoint a commission to investigate the conditions of backward classes? Answer: Article 340. Question 33. Which article of the Indian Constitution provides for the setting up of a finance commission? Answer: Article 280. Question 34. Who is the highest law officer in India? Answer: the Attorney General of India. Question 35. Which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the powers of the Supreme Court to enforce fundamental rights? Answer: Article 32. Question 36. What is the maximum age limit for election as the President of India? Answer: there is no maximum age limit. Question 37. Which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the power of Parliament to amend the Constitution? Answer: Article 368. Question 38. Who is the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha? Answer: the leader of the largest party not in government, with at least 10% of the seats in the Lok Sabha. Question 39. Which article of the Indian Constitution provides for the abolition of titles? Answer: Article 18. Question 40. Who appoints the Chief Minister of a state in India? Answer: the Governor of the state. Question 41. Which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the duties and powers of the Controller and Auditor General of India? Answer: Article 148. Question 42. Under which article can the Parliament form new states or alter the boundaries of existing states? Answer: Article 3. Question 43. Which part of the Indian Constitution is often referred to as the conscience of the Constitution? Answer: Part 3, which deals with fundamental rights. Question 44. Who can remove the Vice President of India from office before the expiry of his/her term? Answer: The Vice President can be removed by a resolution passed by a majority in the Rajya Sabha and agreed to by the Lok Sabha. Question 45. Which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the Election Commission of India? Answer: Article 324. Question 46. Who has the power to establish a common high court for two or more states? Answer: The Parliament of India. Question 47. Which amendment of the Indian Constitution is related to the inclusion of fundamental duties? Answer: The 42nd Amendment. Question 48. Which article of the Indian Constitution guarantees freedom of speech and expression? Answer: Article 19, 1A. Question 49. Which body is responsible for the delimitation of constituencies in India? Answer: The Delimitation Commission. Question 50. Under which article can the President of India grant pardons, reprieves, respites, or remissions of punishment? Answer: Article 72.